In a small southern town, there was a nativity scene that showed great skill and talent had gone into creating it. One small feature bothered me. The three wise men were wearing firemen's helmets. Totally unable to come up with a reason or explanation, I left. At a quick stop on the edge of town, I asked the lady behind the counter about the helmets. She exploded into a rage, yelling at me, "You darn Yankees never do read the Bible." I assured her that I did, but simply couldn't recall anything about firemen in the Bible. She jerked her Bible from behind the counter and ruffled through some pages and finally jabbed her finger at a passage. Sticking it in my face, she said, "See, it says right here, the three wise men came from afar." So, anyway, I'd like to just say a little reflection here on the three wise men, we call them, or the Magi, whatever you wish to call them. Sometimes when we see pictures and we read the scriptures and then someone embellishes on it, and sometimes it's like the lives of saints. You don't know what's fact from fiction because people start embellishing about their lives and about the situation, and then where the truth ends, legend begins. But we know that it's in the Gospel of Matthew about the three wise men, and probably the last persons in the world most of us would consider significant for solving our current environmental catastrophe would be the three biblical kings or wise men, whatever we wish to call them. Yet the grace of the Creator that called these Magi to make their journey seeking a special person come from the realm of the heavens is a grace we need today. We can speculate that they quite likely were seeking wisdom for solutions to dire problems in their homeland. We can kind of conjecture things. We don't know for sure, but you can use your imagination. Part of making Scripture alive is trying to use our imagination when we read Scriptures, because not everything is present in Scriptures. For example, after the resurrection, we know in the Scriptures it says the women came, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found it was empty, and they went back and told the men, and they never read anything about Mary there, her mother, his mother Mary, I meant. And I would like to consider that she was the first one he appeared to. There's nothing in Scripture that says yes or no, but it's not against Scripture to think that perhaps she was the one that he first appeared to after he rose from the dead. So you can start conjecturing things like that, and it's not against the Scripture. So, but somehow, we can apply these wise men or Magi to present day. It can be assumed that instead of sophisticated and learned information as they expected, they quite probably experienced powerful inner enrichment of their persons. Anytime, they probably didn't know, they followed that star, and they weren't sure what it was going to lead to. And when we don't know how long after Christ was born that they came, perhaps at that time they were in a house. Not in the stable, but since we usually use the crib and the scene, and then at this day on Epiphany, we bring the wise men, show them that they came to adore Christ. We don't know how long it was. It could have been months and so forth. Anyway, they brought these gifts, and not knowing quite what to expect. At any time you have an encounter with God, and they had an encounter with God as a baby and not fully understanding what was going on here, Once they had an encounter with God, it really probably changed their life. What a gift they might have experienced, not understanding it, but knowing there was something special, really special, that went on here when they saw this babe. And anytime we might have an encounter with God, it can't help but change our inner being and make us a better person. You know, looking deeper in our faith and knowing really what it's all about and encountering God. And when we encounter God, it should make us more understanding, more loving, more merciful, since we're in the year of mercy. All the things that goes with it. We have a true encounter with God. Sometimes we can be baptized, and that's really an encounter with God, but usually we're baptized as infants, so we don't fully understand what's going on. But when we do have an encounter with God, it makes a difference in our life. And sometimes people can go through life, never really have an encounter with God, even though they were baptized. It can happen. Hopefully that isn't the case in our life. Hopefully that we've grown through that faith through the help of our parents and others who have helped us along the way to come to grips with what that faith really means. And as we grow older and hopefully grow deeper in that faith and trust in God. Secular history suggests that they were quite likely learned in the mystical science of the skies typical of the region at that time. And while this left them deficient in scientific knowledge compared to what we know today, they excelled in an intuitive spiritual openness to divine inspiration. And perhaps that's what we need nowadays, because science is so important. Certainly it's great to have science and study science and what science is telling us about the world, about the other worlds, and all the things that go with the universe. But then faith adds a certain dimension to it, and so often as happens, scientists, should be no conflict between science and faith, but there is. And if we don't have the faith, they think we can learn all the answers through science. Science not going to give us all the answers. So maybe we take that leap in, the faith that we don't fully understand, we truly believe in what the world is all about, what creation is all about, why we were brought into being, and it all revolves around God. The other day at the funeral, I happened to mention some of us, and my age anyway, were brought up in the Baltimore Catechism in early days. And one of the basic questions in the Baltimore Catechism was, why did God make me? And the answer is, God made me to know, love, and serve Him in this world in order to be with Him in the next. So God created us for Himself. We might say it's a little selfish that way, if I can use that word, because we're meant, our whole being is meant to be with God someday. We have to go through this life. That's why death is not the enemy. It's just passing from one form of life to the other. God wills the salvation of every human person, but He leaves the choice to us because He doesn't interfere with our free will. If He did, He would not love us. He gives us the freedom. So the choice is ultimately ours. If we choose God or reject God. Therefore, we can never say God ever sent anybody to hell. If they go to hell, they've chosen it. God didn't, because God's will is that they be with Him forever in heaven. One of the mysteries. That's why we try to understand God. In fact, the mystery of love is really the mystery of God, and delving deeper into that love and what the mystery of love is all about. Real challenge in life. And unless we experience love and we're able to give love, it's very difficult. And so many people don't experience the love, and it's very difficult for them to understand what life is truly all about. So as we think about, the Magi and so forth, contrary-wise, because of our advanced sciences, today we look, I mentioned we think we're going to get all the information and direction, and they showed that maybe there's more to life than that, and it's an encounter with God. So today, without knowing it, perhaps our astronomers may well be viewing the very same starlight the gospel astrologers saw, except the blinders of naive confidence in our scientific expertise has closed our eyes and minds to the inspired inducements that led these Magi on their journey. We all have our journey in life, whatever that journey might be, and the choices we make in life. It's all a journey. Everyone has their own story to tell, and many stories are so fascinating to hear people and tell their stories, and how people come in their lives, or they come in the lives of one another that are meant to be. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey toward God. So in a way, we're on the same journey that these Magi were, not fully understanding because we look at it in the eyes of faith. Thank God for that gift of faith. They recognize the workings of creation and recognize in the face of the Creator. And that's the challenge for us, to always recognize God in that life. We're going to continue stumbling around, but somehow through that stumble, hopefully we grow deeper in our faith. And as we question it and realize who God truly is, and the love, unconditional love He has for each and every one of us. Hopefully we come to that realization. So those are things maybe as you think about it, and I just say, sometimes we put all our eggs in the basket of our telescopes and secular expertise without packing the wisdom needed to find our way to spiritual enrichment. Even without telescopes and GPSs and all those things, we have to somehow recognize the divine, and we don't always do it that way. And that's part of what it means to really pray. Now, there's the communicating with God, and a large part of that prayer is listening. So hard for us to listen. As the little boy said, He gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth because He wants us to listen twice as much as we speak. A lot of wisdom in that, but it's hard to listen. In our society, we always seem to want to have noise. We can't stand silence. It's so important to have that silence in our life, and to come closer to God through that silence. I can remember making a 30-day Ignatian exercises retreat, and you can't talk for 30 days. Take that back. There were 2 free days of it, and you could talk. Try it. Anybody could try 30 days. But somehow, I look back at that experience, and it's one of the best experiences of my life. And it's very difficult at times. In fact, you build up where you have to pray 5 hours a day and report to our spiritual director. Look upon that, what a grace period it was. Now, we're not all given an opportunity to do that, for 30 days. But just to have that quietness and the silence, God speaks volume. So as He kind of led those Magi, they really, not knowing what they were going to find, and their encounter with God, perhaps the best thing that ever happened in our lives. And because the best gift at Christmas is Christ Himself. We can give gifts, and that's fine and wonderful. Send cards and all the things we do at Christmas, and those are fine and wonderful things, really. It shows our love and our caring for others and our thoughtfulness of others. To realize that the greatest gift of all is Christ Himself. Hopefully we have that encounter with Him in our lives. May God bless you.